Welcome to Custom Homebuilders Solutions, also known as CHS, a job costing, full accounting, and profit management software designed specifically for the professional home builder. This is a continuation of videos about the fill-in draw requests in CHS. We've already done a couple of them, so be sure you watch those first because I say some things that would be good for you to know when I'm doing this one. In this case, I'm on the Home tab, and I'm going to click this button that will show, it says it has draws in it. I'm clicking the button for draw requests. Now, we've been just using the demo job Smith that I do all kinds of stuff to, and in our last video about amounts, we created a draw spreadsheet using amounts, and I'd like you to see what happens when I click to do the one using percents. And I'll come back here and talk about that in a minute. But notice how it says because the total to draw on the spreadsheet that will open is greater than 100%, it looks like you might have set up a fill-in draw spreadsheet for this job that uses amount instead of percents. You might want to click the cancel button and select that one using amounts, and then maybe you want to delete it, or that you want to do the one. If you're wanting to really do percents, you started amounts when you want to do percents, you want to probably go delete that amounts one. So let's just do cancel. It let me know it went and checked. And I'll go ahead and click the one for amounts for a second, which we were doing in the last video. And I'm going to say delete this entire spreadsheet because I actually want to do it using percents. So if you click the question mark button, it will explain to you again, as I mentioned before, that fill-in draw spreadsheets are just standalone spreadsheets where you enter amounts, or maybe you copy in some amounts from some other job, or get some amounts from a job budget a little bit. But other than that, CHS will not be bringing in any accounting information about costs so far or revenues, etc. Again, these are just spreadsheets I made to just sort of do the ones that I used to do in Excel, but do it on web, which is a little different than Excel, but to try to provide that too in case your lender is insisting on certain categories to draw and certain percents. And the ones that are smarter in CHS up here, cost plus markup, builder fee, etc., won't work for that bank, or you can't convince them, or whatever reason that you would just like to use a spreadsheet that doesn't do that much for you other than give you a good way to do draw requests. So that was the help on that, and we are going to talk about using one that uses percents instead of amounts this time. So I'll click percents, and detected that we didn't have any before. And again, in the first video, we opened a blank worksheet and showed you how you could just set up your categories like the banker wants and add new categories. And we set up a couple of template jobs to set up both an amounts one and a percents one based on the bank. And so now to do a percent one, we could select the one that has to do with percents and copy it in. You can also open a percent complete one from the stage categories that you have set up to be various stages of jobs, and please watch videos about this. This builder has like 14 of them set up, etc. So you could do that, or you could do one to copy. I'm not going to do it yet because the first thing I want to do is I want to go over here and I want to edit the contract type and price for this job so we can talk about things better. And this is a screen that shows you the budgeted amount, and you usually open this window when you're doing your budget to decide on what your price is. But I'm going to change this one. You're going to notice some changes down here based on the type of contract. And I'm wanting to set a fixed price. And CHS will give you some suggestions. The price be $554,075. If you want a 20% that you might type in, and it'll give you some suggestions of what the price should be to get that. I previously had this amount in, but since then I've added a lot price. There's been activity already on this job, but we're just playing like there hasn't been in a way. But based on this $554,075, maybe I do $554 or $555,000. I just decide to do that. Then it'll go recalculate all this stuff down here, and so I'm getting a little higher profit percent than the 20%, but we'll just use 555, which will make sense to you in a minute when we open the draw percent worksheet. So I close that. Just wanted to show you how you can do that from here. Usually that's done while you're working on the budget and you're coming up with a price before you're ever doing these draws. But Let's select Smith again. Let's do percents. And let's just copy the categories and percents in that the bank gave us for how they want us to draw. So we're going to use that template job that we call ZZ Draw Percents in the first video about fill-in draw requests. So I'm going to say that that's what I want to bring in to start these draw requests. Now you'll notice that the percents complete have percents in them rather than amounts, and we're going to change this just a little bit. Remember we talked how we had an upfront lot draw. This could be a space where you have some upfront down payment or something, because what you're trying to figure out is what number you want these percents to be based on. All these numbers will be a percent, will produce a percent or an amount of the net to draw. So we're going to put in $555,000 instead, just so we match our price. So the amount we want this draw spreadsheet to draw on is $480,000. Notice that if you total these percents that we entered in our first video that total to 100%, that total to draw, which is right here, is 100%. If we hadn't gotten 100% in yet, you'd see this amount get less for a while until we got it to 100% when it calculates what the actual amounts are that go with it. We've not put anything in our columns 1 through 12, so none has been, that's what would show up here in drawn, the total of all those, the percents, and then it will show you the amount. So remaining is $480,000. And just like before on the amounts thing, you can click on a row, one of these rows, and fill in, this would be for your draw 1, for draw 2, draw 3, how much of this 2% you want in column 1, column 2, and probably most likely you put all the 2% right here. Notice again that if I suddenly put 3 here, I'm going to get a message that I've gone over the 2%, and otherwise, other words, I put caused total drawn to be 5% when it should be 2%. So I'll put a 0 back there, click tab, and so I could fill in all the columns in a row for this particular category. We'll just leave the 2%, so we'll have 2% right now. Notice we have 2% in column 1, and if that's all we drew, we didn't draw anything for the rest of these categories, we'd be drawing $9,600, which is 2% of $480,000, the net to draw. But the way you might want to do it, you might not be wanting to fill all these columns in until you're ready to work on the next draw. So let's say I just want to work on draw 1, so I'm going to say I just want to fill in a column of percents, and I want to fill in column 1. And this screen, you can also go ahead and fill in the percents for total to draw down here, which we saw in an earlier one, and you would use your down arrow key to get them all put in, but they're already there. We can see amount remaining on this one is 0, because we already put a 2% in, but if I want to also take the 12% on this column 1 and draw 1, I could click that forward arrow and it would put in the remaining amount. But I could also just type in an amount, and I need to use my down arrow key after I do that, so I go down the thing on my keyboard. And let's just do 2%. Here I use my down arrow key better there. And so 2% is remaining here. This was 8%, 4% is remaining here because I put 4% in here. So that's how much we put in column 1 just because. So I'm going to close this and close this. And now you'll see these percents in column 1, and if we did that draw, it'd be 96,000. Let's work on column 2 also. And in column 2, column percents, column 2. So you can tell what's already been drawn by the fact that the remaining amount that you'll see here will be 0. See the 0 zeros, but you can tell you still have 4% left to put into column 2. The other 4% was in column 1, and 2% left here. You need to wait a minute because it's saving it. And then 2% here. Let's do 1.5%, just because, so there's 0.5% left. And that's all we're doing in column 2. So we'll close it, close it. We'll see those percents. Now we'll see that this draw from column 1 would be 96,000, column 2 45,600. And let's just do column 3 real quick, just because there's a reason for that. It's calculating quite a bit to get the remaining and the totals and the sum ups and all that stuff, so it'll take a moment to open. But we can see all these are zeros, and kind of know that this category, we're just going to click the arrow key and get some in pretty quick here. We'll close that. Start running out of talking energy. So draw 3 might be 50,400, and column 1 96,45. So now let's say, okay, well, we're ready to print our draw request reports. We can, like in the last time, print a 12-column PDF report that will show all the columns so you can see them all across. It told me it stored it in the file cabinet. We'll open a tagging thing so that you could change the title, decide if you want to show your contact that draw, your buyer, when they get online, etc. But I can open the file to see what happened here. And you can see that it's showing you the whole 12 columns, and the total amounts are down running along the bottom. If I make it bigger with the plus button, you can see the dollar totals right here of that 12-column spreadsheet. That's now in our file cabinet. I check-marked the buyer, so I need to save this and then close it. And if I view the fill-in draw requests that are in the file cabinet right now, you can see there's an all-column one, and you can click this to look at it again, this PDF icon, etc., or delete it from your file cabinet with the X button. So let's say we're ready to do draw 1. So we put in a 1, and we select column 1. We prepare the column 1 report. It tells me that it's now in the file cabinet, etc., and I can make changes if I wanted, but I can open the file to look at draw 1. And you can see that the total to draw that adds up to 100% is there. This request is this much, so total request is this much. We've had no prior request prior to column 1. And then it'll show the remaining to draw, and at the bottom we'll see the amounts. And the amount will actually be up here at the top of this. You could download this and send it to a PDF and email it, etc., etc. Plus it's saved in your file cabinet. I'm going to play like we already did draw 2, and let's do draw 3, so I don't have to do 2 and then 3 for you to get the idea. But let's say I know our amounts are in column 3, and if I prepare the column 3 one, and open the file, it's downloaded, so it has to open it a different way than other reports. There's the amount. It's showing prior requests, which this is everything in the columns before column 3. So this would be a combination of column 1 and 2, the prior requests, the percents for this request, all the total requests, how much has been drawn with both of those together, and remaining to draw is over here, and your amounts. And there's this is the column for this draw. Just happens it cuts to the second page, but we have the right exact number of whatever categories it makes it go to a second page. So anyway, that's also stored in the file cabinet, and draw 2 would have been stored in the file cabinet. On those reports, at the top of them, there was a signature area, and if you click on the report screen, you can change what shows at the top of the draw request and the signature line, and how you'd like to have it done by changing this here and then clicking save. And that's what would start printing in the signature area of those draw requests. You can print out a list of monies you've received so far from the customer, with or without sales tax, and a list of any change orders that you've issued to them. But that's basically how you do percent complete. Again, total drawn is all of these like here it says 8%, that's this column and this column and anything else you might have had in other columns for that. This 2% is the 1.5 and the 0.5. So all that total drawn mean is it's the sum of column 1s through 12 and shows how much is remaining here. Like I did earlier, you can delete, and also if you end up needing more than 12 draws, you can click this button. Please watch the one about amounts where I clicked this button. It explains what it's going to do. It'll move all of these into, well, I'll just do that just in case you don't want to go try to watch that whole thing. It explained right there that it was going to move everything from column 2 to 12 into column 1. Then what you would do for your draw 13 is you would fill in column 2, and when you request the draw, you'd say draw 13, but the amounts are in column 2, so it'll show all these as prior, and then draw 13 right here. So hopefully that makes sense, and you definitely need to do step 1 on percents and get your interim loan information, fill in maybe the loan number and things, because it will use the net to draw. That's what these percents are. This is, you know, these percents are based on that net to draw. I mean, these amounts are based on that net to draw times certain percents here. So thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, please feel free to call.